Get ready to take a look behind the scenes and enter the impossible for the Between Two Minds podcast with our hosts, Judge Mentalist and Bernardo Rodriguez. Can they really tell you what you're thinking?
Good afternoon, everybody who is watching. It's Judge Mentalist. As you can see from just me on the screen, the fact that we're live streaming, the PHS logo up in the corner, any of these things are clues that I am back and we are here to do another interview, previewing an amazing talk. Somebody that if you've gone to any conference that has anything to do with performing hypnosis, whether it's been any of the in-person PHSs, the Michigan Conference, Heartland Conference, any of these that cover some element of performance, you already know my next guest who we're talking to here today, a man who absolutely needs no introduction and somebody who is going to, in less than a month, be joining you in Las Vegas at the 2026, I almost said 2024. The dates need to go forward, not backwards. At least I made it so that my intro audio didn't loop before I did this. I'm with the holidays messing up this schedule. I have not gotten into the rhythm or the flow of doing these. So back on track. Here we go. Without further ado, I'm just going to welcome him in here. The man, the myth, the legend, Dan Goyette. Good afternoon, Dan. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on. And I am pretty excited to be heading back out to PHS this year, 2026. So
I will confirm, not that anybody is denying your excitement about PHS, because you have been pushing and promoting the 2026 Performing Hypnosis Summit since, I don't know, an hour following the end of the 2025 Performing Hypnosis Summit. And you even ran your own conference in the middle there where you were simultaneously pushing both, even though PHS was much later. And of course, did a great deal of promotion of it at the Michigan conference. So we don't doubt your excitement for PHS. And it is very exciting because it is Vegas at a time where, sure, it's not going to be hot in Vegas, but it'll be warmer than where most of us are.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a good time, always great people, so much to learn. And you are presenting on an incredibly important topic, not just overall, but really in where we are in the sharing of media and ideas and content. I think your talk is at its most important right now. And talking about that, as you title it, rule number one of hypnosis, and in this context, stage and performing hypnosis, comedy hypnosis, whatever you want to call it, don't be creepy. So without giving up too much, let's get the 10-cent tour, the rundown of what we can expect.
So, that was when I first started learning anything about hypnosis. Gone to the Michigan, the Clinical Hypnosis Institute, the Michigan Clinical Hypnosis Institute. One of the instructors there, Frank Guilford, that was his rule. Rule number one, don't be creepy. And I just remember that sticking into my head because after performing stage hypnosis for, I think, about 7-8 years, I wasn't sure what I could bring to the table for this year's PHS because I'm just like, what can I bring to the table? And then I remembered, don't be creepy, right? Because here's what I'm talking about by that. The 10-cent tour, what you can expect is to know that whether you are on the side of performing hypnosis, whether you are on the side of hypnotherapy, or you're in the middle, you're doing both, there's going to come a point where you're always performing, whether you're performing for a stage on a show, whether you're performing at a presentation, whether you're performing at a meeting, you're trying to get a show, you're trying to do something. Don't be creepy. And what I mean by that is most people have an understanding of hypnosis from television, social media, movies, all these things going on.
And most of those perceptions are absolutely inaccurate. We all know that. Many of us have spent time dispelling many of those myths that are perpetuated through there.
Yeah, they're negative. I was putting together the presentation, and I've done an article kind of like this for the Hypno World magazine. One of the movies way back was called The Hypnotic Eye, and it was basically this guy was hypnotizing young women to do what he wanted, and then of course he was also, I think, murdering them. And then fast forward, here we get the hypnotist with Ben Affleck, or Hypnosis. Same thing. The villain is a hypnotist. He's killing people. You go to television, the villain is a hypnotist, or some sitcom. You know, Hypnosis is, oh my God, look at this. Social media. I don't know how many horrible YouTube videos I saw putting hypnosis out there in a bad way. And it's because, you know, they're like, oh, if I get people to watch, I get more videos. If I'm a little bit like this and I do it like that, and the girls in the swimsuit and that's creepy.
And
you know what I mean?
And let's clarify the definition of that word creepy. We are talking about cringy, inappropriate, crossing lines. We're not talking about like, oh, Dan Goyette comes on stage and all of a sudden he's a zombie. Woo!
Ooh, I like that. You got to send me that picture, dude.
I'll send you that picture. I mean, that guy's creepy enough that he belongs in jail. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's my.
A lot of people say I don't prepare for these things, and that's an absolute lie. No, the type of creepy that we're talking about is more along this line, like, you know, the AI version of Dan Goyette rolling up in one of those vans, except
you know what? Stage. Sadly, when I was doing the show, I had a red van. And we used to call it the Abductor 10,000s. We're loading it up.
Here we come full circle, right?
Exactly.
I'll send you all of these. All right. So thanks to Canva and its AI generation of me taking your headshot and being like, in its defense, the first thing I asked it to do was make you look creepy. And it's like, I can't do anything that's harmful. And I'm like, okay, well, then let's take this in a different direction. Make him look like a zombie. Okay. Make him look like he's in jail. Oh, you did that with the zombie photo. Okay, cool. Not the original photo, whatever. And then we went all van down by the river.
I mean, that should have just said free hypnosis on the side of the van with candy. Also, one of the things I'm going to be talking about is not only that perception and understanding where that comes from and how detrimental it can be, but how easily we accidentally slip into the creep factor as for laypersons. Advertising, right? You know, people like to put the big eye. Oh, I'm a hypnotist. I'm going to put this big eye up. Oh, I got to have the magic swirl. I've got to have I've got to have this in my advertising. And that takes you back to the 50s, back when the Sinbad villain was always the guy who was a hypnotist, you know, look into my eyes. And that takes you back to those movies. It takes you back to the sitcom. It takes you back to that spiral, that spinning spiral. That was used a lot to, you know, inadvertently steal somebody's will. So when people see that, they naturally gravitate that way in their minds. And we know it's a mainstay in hypnosis. We know that. You know, we're not doing this on purpose. We're not doing this because we are creepy. We're not doing this because we're advertising poorly. We're doing this because we have seen it. It's been almost pounded into our heads. That's how you advertise to be a hypnotist, you know, t-shirts, you know, like, don't make me use my hypnotic powers. You know, it seems funny, but at the same time, if you don't know, you know, it can be a little bit off-putting.
It's super, super important. And and a lot of people might lose sight of this or not have the realization, but when you're putting things out on social media, oftentimes are the first time in which a new individual is going to be exposed to, in this context, hypnosis. But the same is true for anything that in a quasi-professional setting you're trying to put out on social media.
Yes.
You know, and for those who are clinical practitioners, if you're doing work that, and we're going to shift the paradigm here a little bit for demonstration purposes, so it's understood from the clinical standpoint. If you're working with somebody who has some sort of fear or phobia, you have probably traced that back as far to an initial incident in which they had a negative interaction with whatever their fear or phobia is of. Don't create through your content a fear or phobia of hypnosis.
Yeah, we call that the sensitizing event.
Yeah,
which creates the sensitizing symptom. But you know what? I've seen it with practitioners too. Hypnotherapists, they're using the eye, they're using the swirl. We're doing this. Just this morning, I was doing something with AI, getting an image ready for the Michigan conference, and it just naturally put that huge swirl in there in the middle of it, and I had to have it remove that because when I looked at it, it wasn't a cool swirl. It wasn't a good swirl. It was like a, I take you deeper swirl. Yeah. I always think of the Wishmaster because I used to do the Wishmaster all the time for a commercial. Is there something you desire? Wish on, child. And that's creepy. I won't do that again. But
oh no, he's back.
He is back. And we always say, oh, the age of the sunken eye hypnotist is over. But then you look at some of the things that are going out there on social media. There we are right there. It's 2026 and we're still, in 1956. So it becomes and over time, it's a loop. It keeps going back and forth, back and forth. We keep doing it. We keep doing it. We keep doing it. And the definition, or one of the definitions of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So
Absolutely.
It becomes that way. And I know about creepy because, I should say, yes, there's the van. My show is adult. When my friends talked me into doing stage hypnosis, oh, Dan, you got to do stage hypnosis. And I was okay. I put a show together. Well, there was nothing in the area that was stage show ready for me. So other than every bar that I had known and worked with in the industry as I used to be what was called as a professional bouncer or a cooler when I was younger. So I kind of knew some of those guys. So that's what I started doing that. That's where my shows started. I think it was like the first show I ever did was at the Long Branch Saloon. It was $250 and it was adult themed. The problem with that is if it is, you have to advertise it that way. You can't let people just walk into that.
Yeah. Expectation setting is super important. 100%.
Yes. You know what I mean? If I had my other camera working, I could show you the poster on the wall of some of the advertising that we did. So you knew what you were getting to. If I was doing a radio interview, I would say, yeah, this is, it's adult theme, and we're going to, we've got some of these gaffes that are more, centered towards adults and in the bar industry. And some of the shows that I did fair wise, which were also adult themed, which you would not think that they would want that. You have seen it. The stripper pole.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell the story behind the stripper pole when you guys come see me. But it's heir apparent to go, okay, I'm going to do this show. I'm going to advertise it this way. If it's adult themed, I'm going to do it. And a lot of stage hypnotists that I know and have talked to shy away from the adult show. They do the family friendly show. They do the missing belly button kind of thing, just because it is family friendly and it is putting hypnosis out there in a positive light. And when you're doing the adult show, maybe that can be seen as slightly creepy per se, but you have to do it in a way that isn't creepy, that it's professional, that it's upright, that, informed consent. There was a part of the show with Mistress Sarah. During the show, somebody wound up as her footstool, right? That was part of the show, and everybody laughed. At the beginning of the show, that was full on. I explained exactly, like, if you want to do this, you come up here, and this is going to be the thing, and you're going to do this when she says, and da-da-da-da-da. Do I have any volunteers? I never had trouble getting volunteers. And when you see the picture of Sarah, you'll understand why. There were like 10, 12 guys that would raise their hand right now to do that, but it was informed consent. It was,
and that's the key. I never saw this show, and I don't recall whose show it was, but I have been told by numerous people that there used to be a show on the Las Vegas Strip that during the intro to the show, the performer said, bold-faced, if you come up on this stage, you will a chair by the end of the show. And it was said multiple times. Is it inappropriate to do that routine? Not in that context and not with that heads up. And did that individual have problems getting people up on stage? Apparently not. Again, I haven't seen the show. I'm just retelling a story that was told to me by multiple people, and I'm sure it's quite true. But that setting the expectation, that informed consent, you are going to do X, Y, and Z if you come up here on stage, and to do it while they're sitting in the seats that they paid for, not the seats that they volunteered to be in.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Tell them before they come up on your stage.
Yeah, it was part of the pre-talk. You know what I mean? So it was kind of advertised, and you could see it on the posters. Like in every poster there was a picture of that. So there was no confusion as to what I was talking about. It was advertised that way, and people, man, they loved it, and I don't know why, but they were just like, oh man, that's the greatest. I loved every minute of it. And it was fun. It was energetic. It was rowdy. We did, like the zombie burlesque dance, and we did the man boobs. There was always a guy that grew great big double D's in the show. And that was put out there as well. So, I mean, you can do it without being creepy, and by creepy, I mean, there's some things I would not do. I would not do a lap dance between a guy and a girl. I would not ever do that because, what are you doing? All right. If it's a guy and a guy, it's funny. It's just funny. It's hilarious, but that was also done right. So it becomes down to what's funny, what's sexist, what's not funny. So what's the hypnotist just, doing what he wants to do just to see what he can do per se. And we have to remember that you are always now on video as well. So
yeah, absolutely. And you should be.
Yeah.
But you, in addition to the video that you're going to make, that you should be making during these shows, no matter what you say, and this happens, and I will tell you because I've done this enough. No matter what you say, as far as no photography, no videos, no matter whatever, you're going to look out on your audience to a bunch of this. One of the things that I will often do in some of my shows, like private shows, is I will offer as part of the package that anybody at the show who wants the video afterwards can have it for free. I don't do that in all the shows, but I do it in private settings, and it's kind of an add-on type of thing. In those contexts, will tell the audience at the beginning of the show, the booker or whoever it is, or the company or whatever has arranged for anybody who wants this video to have it absolutely free. So enjoy through your eyes, not through your screen. Hands off. You don't need, And I still look out there in the audience to one or two people that, because there's something that's like, oh, no, that's my friend up there. That's my coworker up there. That's my spouse, my sibling, my whatever. I need to get this. They're still going to do it. Even if you give them every reason not to, they're still going to take the video, even if it's just little clips.
Yeah. And I'm also going to be talking about when it comes to that, the first rule of hypnosis, don't be creepy, is reading your audience. Whether you're doing a presentation or whether you're on stage. When I would do a show, I would always, if at all possible, get online and do like a virtual tour of the venue. Be weird, not creepy. Exactly, Tommy. And I can be both weird and creepy. So I would do a tour. You know what I mean? I would look at the venue and see, and gauge the people that were coming to that particular venue. Because most places, most bars would always have about 50, 60 pictures, up of just, who's coming there, who's the regulars, what you have. So you get an idea of who you're dealing with right off the bat, so that you can mentally prepare yourself to say, okay, I think that I could do these at these gaffes at that venue. I don't believe I could do this or that gaff at this venue. It's not going to be well received. So you can
understand, not just within that, that's very, very thorough, but some of this, you don't even necessarily need to do that. If you're doing a show at a high school, you already know where some of the lines are.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Oh yeah. When I did a high school show, there was no zombie, there was a zombie dance, but we didn't use the burlesque music, and I didn't use the word burlesque. There was just, there was no inappropriate, like, shake your booty or nothing like that. But when you're in the bar, okay, here we go. We're going to do this. So it becomes like, did I just say that? Like, it becomes so cool. I just turned into a 16-year-old Valley girl. Let's not do that again. You know what I mean? It is that level of expectation that adult venue is going to expect. I once had I can't remember who it was, but I did have a hypnotist get a hold of me. They were doing a stage show. It was adult. They're like, dude, I need your bar show. And I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, what? They're like, I need your bar show. Can you send me your bar show? They hired me, and then they came back and called me and said, hey, you know what? I think we made a mistake. We saw your videos and you're not for us. And it was a good amount of money. And he goes, no, I've got that. So I sent him my bar show. He rehearsed it and it did well. And I said, well, make sure that I had notes in there for the pre-talk as to make sure you say this, make sure you say this, make sure you say that. And I can't remember who it was. But it kind of saved him a little bit. And it came across really well. It wasn't creepy. It was well received. The other thing I will say is, with the first rule is don't walk up. Don't just walk up and start, some hypnotists would be like, they start glomming, you know what I mean? Oh, we're going to do this, like, hey, may I, before you touch a person, ask, I'm going to put my hand here. Is that okay? Just to make sure that you're going to be all right. And da-da-da-da-da. I always ask, because that is a way to be really creepy. You just walk up and put your, you know what I mean? You're going to get this recoil. They're going to recoil. Like, what are you doing? Especially if it's, if you're walking up to a young lady doing street hypnosis, what have you. So
you got to create a space for safety and a space for comfort for these folks, even in, regardless of what type of show, what type of venue, what type of audience, what you build it as. All of that sets kind of the framework for where you're going to be able to go. The expectations are super important. So it's this month, friends. It's a couple weeks away, the Performing Hypnosis Summit. If you haven't gone before, you're missing out. It's going to be a great time. It always is. It always has been. It's not just this talk with Dan. You've seen some of the other interviews. There'll be some more really, really great talks. If you haven't lined up yet, performinghypnosissummit.com to register. And I don't know for sure, but you could try this, because the room block I know was supposed to end in December. They did extend it. I don't know when they extended it to. Again, I'm just out here chatting with people. I don't run the conference, so I don't know all the details. But get your room block. And this, if it's still active, this is the discount code. You can always call the Gold Coast and say, hey, are there rooms left in that block? Speaking to real people is still a thing these days, not as much as it used to be, but it should be. And any last thoughts? Anything else you want to share with people before we send them on their way, and hopefully we see them in Vegas in a couple of weeks?
So yes, I'm also going to be talking about, with the first rule, don't be creepy, as I've researched, neurological, physiological effects of hypnosis on the human brain and nervous system. I'm going to be talking about post-hypnotic suggestions and hypnotic suggestions, because oftentimes when I'm talking about this on a scientific level, they have a tendency to be very potent, and they have a tendency to seem like mind control. So that can be like, oh man, that's creepy, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to talk about that too, the suggestion level. So I will be doing that. And the other thing I want to say is I'm excited for two reasons to go to three. One, I want to see everybody. Two, I do want to sit in on that finance presentation. And three, I definitely want to hit the M&M store. So that's that's my thing. So
priorities, friends, priorities.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, as always, speaking of doing disconnected from PHS type of things, if you are still somehow in the planning phase of coming to Vegas and you want to do other Vegas things, as always, the PHS schedule is stacked, not only with the sessions, but some of the special stuff after hours. And I know that there's always a planned trip to go and see Hypnosis Unleashed downtown with Kevin Lapine and all of that stuff. I say this so that you know that if you want to go and tour the Grand Canyon or see other shows or any of this other stuff, you might want to tack an extra day on before or after the conference, because the conference itself is absolutely jam-packed and not much that you want to miss here. Brian Bass chiming in about Brent's financial presentation and how it's going to be awesome. If this is something that you're not considering and you're not thinking about, then you're not running your career like a business, and you need to be. And I think going to a presentation like that is absolutely one of the first steps that you can make to get in that right path for so many reasons. Okay. Future planning, just knowing the types of things. And I don't know exactly all the context. I haven't had them on the podcast yet, maybe in the next couple of weeks here, but understanding there's probably things out there. You've talked about this. We've done a podcast together on this about certain expenses that if you're a performer that you can write off. All this kind of stuff is super important, and you need to establish that mindset. It's going to help you not just in the short term, but especially in the long term if you plan to have even a part-time career as a performer.
So exactly. Get your tickets.
Awesome. Good stuff. Again, everybody, one last time for you, performinghypnosissummit.com. Just a couple of weeks away. Get out to not so hot these days, but it's still going to be warmer than where you probably are, Las Vegas. It'll be in the 70s, right?
Oh yeah. It's like summer in Michigan for me. I just,
exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me, and enjoy the summit.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media under Between Two Minds with the number 2 instead of TWO, or under Enter the Impossible. Thank you, and we hope to see you back for the next episode.